How's it going, card fighters? I'm Gleaming Garmore, and I've got a bargain for you. How would you like to wield the powers of darkness to protect those you love? How would you like to master arts that the world has never seen before? How would you like to attack your opponent with big funguses? I've got just the deck for you then. Today, we're going to be doing another deck profile, and we will be covering the Cardinal archetype. Starting with our ride deck, we've got our Grade 0 Cardinal Fang Fovi. This is literally the only correct starter to play in Brightgate. Don't even look at me with that weird child. Keep her far away from me. Cardinaloid Routus is our Grade 1 for the ride deck. When he's placed on the Vanguard circle, you can search your deck for one World Set Order card. What are World Set Order cards? They are a series of set orders that grant you the effect of being in Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, depending on how many you have in your order zone. We will talk about what Dark Knight and Abyssal Dark Knight do in a bit, but for now, know that it is very important that you ride Routus and you use his skill to add one of these world cards to your hand. It adds to your consistency immensely. Cardinaloid Cubecia is our Grade 2. When your World Order card is placed into your order zone, you give one of your units 5,000 power for the turn. Also, if he ever ends up on your rearguard circle somehow, he becomes a 15k attacker under Abyssal Dark Knight. Now, all this talk of Dark Knight, Abyssal Dark Knight, has been building up to the big man himself, Cardinal Deus Orfist, the leader of the Cardinal, the one in charge of using the power of the coffins to generate worlds, manipulate causality, and create a shadow army capable of defeating any threat against the planet Cray. During your turn, if you are in Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, he gains 5,000 power. And you can counterblast 2 to create 3 of these shadow army tokens onto your field. They are Grade 1s with boost and 15,000 power. No shield, no abilities, just big, fat beaters. Onto the main deck, let's begin by talking about our World Order cards. First of all, we have one Grade 3 World Order, In the Darkness, Nobody Knows. Now, all world cards share the same continuous ability in their order zone. If you have one world card in your order zone and the only cards in your order zone are world cards, you become Dark Knight. If you have 2 or more and the only cards in your order zone are world cards, you become Abyssal. And the only cards in your order zone are world cards, you become Abyssal Dark Knight. This order card costs 1 Soul Blast to play, and when played into the order zone, you choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards and retire it. This is a one-of because it's still very useful in matchups like Bastion and Bruce, and you can search it out with Routus early in the game against those particular matchups, but it is less useful than the order card we received in the second set. Our 3 of order card is Hollowing Moonlit Night. Hollowing Moonlit Night is once again a Soul Blast cost, and when this world order enters, you draw 1 card. It's essentially an upstart goblin, except it does have a cost attached, so you do have to think about the fact that you have to manage your soul a little bit to play this deck, but generally speaking, right now your world orders are the only thing soul blasting in your deck, so it's a-okay. You will have enough soul for these cards. And then, the newest addition to the deck, Eclipsed Moonlight, is a Grade 2 World Order card that has a cost of Counterblast 1 instead of Soul Blast 1. And when it enters, you call a Shadow Army token, baby. Doesn't matter if you're in Dark Knight, Abyssal Dark Knight, you call a Shadow Army, a 15k beater, to attack your opponent with, or boost a rear guard. As for our Grade 3s, we've got just the 3 copies of Cardinal Deus Orfist in the main deck for our Persona Ride. Persona Riding is actually very, very important in this deck because the one thing this deck does is make very large numbers while manipulating the board state of both players. So you need to Persona Ride to make sure you get the draw for Persona Riding so that you can further manipulate the game state and so that you have more rear guards to commit to your board than your opponent does. Next up onto Grade 2s, we've got 4 copies of Cardinal Draco Alviderd. Alviderd has a continuous ability where under Abyssal Dark Knight, under Dark Knight he gains 2,000 power, And under Abyssal Dark Knight, he gains 5,000 power. And at the end of the battle that he attacks, you can retire a Shadow Army token to retire one of your opponent's rear guards. It's a simple beater that allows you to snipe opponents' Leonards, and allows you to snipe opponents' various other important pieces to their combos. You can hit the Turquoise Girl in the Prison matchup, you can hit the Leonards in the Bruce matchup, you can hit the Dark Strains in the Bastion matchup. There are so many options. The possibilities are endless. Then, the last of our grade 2s, this card's not amazing, but it is worth having access to dig further into your deck. Cardinal Fang Merisma. When placed, you check the top 3 cards of your deck for any World Order card, add it to your hand, and then you put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Again, not an amazing card. I just needed 2 more slots to fill, and I thought this card was a little bit better than some of the other options we had access to. Now, for my personal favorite card in the deck, Cardinal Noid Thumberino. Thumberino, when boosting a Shadow Army token, can give herself 15,000 power. And then, at the end of the battle that she attacked, you can retire all of your units in this column to draw a card. This means that on turn 2, if you play Eclipse Moonlight to call a Shadow Army, you can call down Thumberino and swing for 48, draw 1 card. On turn 2. When they were revealing cards like Thumberino and like Alviderd, we didn't know that we would have an order card that created Shadow Armies just for 1 counterblast cost. And at the time, those cards seemed very bad. But then when we learned about Eclipse Moonlight, the whole deck started coming together. We started being able to create Shadow Armies quickly and early on in the game and use the power and advantage generated by them to gain the upper hand over our opponent. Of course, we are playing a staple of all Brantgate decks, 4 copies of Detonation Mutant Bulbamine. Bulbamine at the end of the battle that it boosted, if there is a set order in your order zone, so that can be a World Order, that can be the Prison, or that can be if you are playing the upcoming Brantgate deck, which I likely will. If I have the money to pick up a deck, I will provide a deck profile on it when I get there, because it does seem very interesting. The new Meteor cards, any set order, you put this card into your soul and you countercharge 1. This card is part of what I meant when I said that you will definitely have enough soul to use your World Orders because they are the only things that are soul blasting and you are generating extra soul. Next up, we're playing 4 PGs in the form of Violate Dragon, and we're playing 1 more grade 1, Cardinal Prima Ecolpa, not to be confused with Echo Vanguard. For the triggers, we're running of course, our 1 over trigger. I'm sure you don't have to have it explained to you what this does or why we care about running it. Then we have 4 copies of Cardinal, Draco, and Pyro, who is our 20k shield front trigger. The front trigger is actually really useful in this deck because your Shadow Army tokens, when boosted by like an 8k, are already requesting 15k shield. If you check just 1 trigger, then you're requesting 25k shield out of your opponent to guard these attacks. And I think it's actually kind of brutal how you have these front rows of Shadow Army tokens. Your Vanguard is already a 33k column, and your opponent just has to contend with that. It's disgusting. Then we're running 7 critical triggers. And those 7 crits allow us to close out games faster than if we were playing any variant of fronts or draws or whatever. And then we're playing 4 heal triggers to close out the deck. Now, let's talk about card interactions. I already explained this once, but let's assume that you have Cubecia on the Vanguard and you have Eclipse Moonlight, Thumberino, 1 damage, okay? So you play the Eclipse Moonlight by counterblasting 1. And then you get to call a Shadow Army token down. Cubecia gives that Shadow Army +5. Or it can give itself +5, actually. Give the Vanguard +5. And then you call Thumberino to boost the Shadow Army. Your Vanguard swing already cannot be simply guarded with a 1-card guard. you have to drop 15, and even if you drop 15, it's still only one to pass, so you just check a trigger and you hit. Thumbarino swings in, and you are swinging for 38, as previously mentioned. And then, there's no way your opponent guards that attack. It's definitely going through. You draw a card. Next, let's talk about Eclipse Moonlight plus either Bulbul Mine or a Culpa is really simple because it just refunds itself. You call your Shadow Army token, you call it on the Bulbul Mine, you boost it, it goes into Soul, you countercharge. Or, alternatively, you boost it, you retire the Shadow Army, you countercharge. Either way, that's why we need to run 5 countercharges in this deck, is because both Eclipse Moonlight's Counterblast 1 and Orfist CB2 are incredibly important to the way this deck operates, and you have to be continuously generating Shadow Army tokens. I might even consider cutting the Merismas to play 2 more of this card, just to have a grand total of 7 counterchargers in the deck. Avidird plus any Shadow Army token already hits for a 20k guard against your opponent's Vanguard, and then you get to snipe one of their rear guards. I just thought I'd talk about a few interactions before we close the video out, because I thought that simply listing the cards would be kind of boring. I don't think deck profiles are best done just going, oh, I play this, this, this. I think you need to talk about why you run cards at certain numbers, and then also what they do in tandem with one another for it to be a truly enriching experience. Anyway, that was actually my first video on Overdress as a game, believe it or not. Like, we've been in Overdress for several months now, and I've only done lore videos and anime reviews, so I think it's about time that I uploaded a deck profile. This is pretty much what I've been jamming with this whole time. This is actually what I took to Springfest, the set 1 version of this deck. I forgot to do a deck profile on what I took because I did not do well in Standard. I did pretty well in Premium, actually. I went X3, I almost topped with Gold Paladin. But either way, that's enough out of me, and I'll see you guys some other time.